Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jordan from PictureMonk.com, and welcome to another podcast, another week of podcasting here. And this one, let's just get right into it. I found a couple articles that, like I always do, I kind of always want to give you guys some inspiration, some cool things to read, whenever you're got some downtime. And so, if you excuse me for a minute, I got a little bit of a throat issue, so if it sounds weird and it looks weird on the video, that's what's going on. But the first one I found is actually sort of an older article, and I knew about this guy when I was looking around for like cool Photoshop tutorials and cool just general editing, retouching, stuff like that. And the guy's name is Erik Johansson, and I knew about him for a while. I knew about his YouTube channel. I knew a bunch of that stuff, but I never really, I watched the stuff, but I never really, kind of appreciated and paid attention. It was kind of always something that you have in the background as you're, looking around the internet and stuff like that. And so I looked him up again, and he did a TED Talk a very long time ago. And I just came across the TED Talk after knowing about him in the past, and I watched the TED Talk, and it was really cool to watch him talk, about his photography and his retouching and all that kind of stuff. So if you don't know about him, he is a Swedish-born photographer and retoucher. I guess that's what his official name is, but he's based out of Berlin, and what he does is he comes up with a concept for a photo, and it's the most outrageous concept. It's like the videos that I've been trying to release. There's one in particular, the first one. It's the fantasy photography video that I released where I composite. He takes the compositing and theory behind it and all that kind of stuff to a whole nother level. It's his stuff is very conceptual. And so, if you one of my favorite ones, I'll kind of give you an example. One of my favorite ones, I guess one of the ones he's more known for, is one that's called Cut and Fold. And so he took a picture of a road pretty high up, and he took a picture of a person riding a bicycle. He took a bunch of photos of the landscape around there, and then he took it back into his studio, and he curled some paper up. He cut a piece of paper in half and kind of curled it to where it looked like it was folded in, and then he started piecing it all together. And what he ended up looking like was, like the dotted line on a road. He used that as a cutting line, like you would see on a coupon or something, where it has the dotted line all the way around it, and you're meant to cut that out. That's what he was doing. Was he cut the road in half and folded it over to where it looked like the landscape was being folded over, and you could see like the dirt underneath. You could see trees hanging upside down. And I've known about that photo for a while, but seeing the behind the scenes photo or the video of it was awesome. It's a time-lapse video of him doing all the stuff, taking the photo, editing, show you all the editing he did to it. Really, really cool stuff. So I watched the TED Talk, and it's just kind of cool to see him talk about it. And you can see those images on his YouTube channel, which I don't. I looked up his YouTube channel, and you know how some people have like youtube.com/whatever. His is really long for some reason. So if you want to see his YouTube channel and check out the behind the scenes, the time lapse photos of his stuff, you can go to the show notes at PictureMonk.com/PMP037, and you can check that out there, or you can just go to Google or go to Google and YouTube and type in Erik Johansson. It's ERIK JOHANSSON. But again, you can go to the show notes for this episode and check that out. It's just really awesome. If you're really into, photo manipulation and just like the conceptual idea of coming up with stuff like that, really awesome. And I'll also put a link to the TED Talk that he did. It's a really short one. It's about 6 minutes. And it's actually back in 2011, but it's a really cool really cool TED Talk to hear him talk about it. So, again, I know I spent like 5 minutes on this guy, but it's just really cool to see that stuff and see how he comes up with all these ideas. So, really awesome, really awesome. I definitely would recommend that. And the next one I kind of saw that was, how I said his stuff was kind of a shorter thing. This article is a very, very long read, but well worth it. It's our old buddy Peter Lick again. You might remember him from selling the $6.5 million photo, and I'm actually have the article pulled up right here, which I'm taking a glimpse at it. The article is titled Peter Lick's Recipe for Success: Sell Prints, Print Money. And that article just kind of grabbed me a little bit. So after reading all of the article, I was kind of blown away by him because if you ever watched his show back in the day on the Weather Channel about him going out and finding stuff, he seems kind of like a humble dude. He goes out there, takes photos. He's kind of brash a little bit, but in this article, he's completely open. About how he is, and it's really cool to actually see that because you kind of get a different aspect of him. It also showed how, or explained how he sold this $6.5 million photo, and a bunch of the other ones. He was one that sold for $3.9 million. He sold a bunch, so it shows you how he does that. And I remember visiting his gallery in one of his galleries in Las Vegas, and the sales guy there, he was explaining sort of how his pricing works, and it's kind of cool to hear how different people price their stuff. And obviously, this guy is like a really well known landscape fine art photographer, and he can pretty much do whatever he wants to, but the way he does it is basically he starts out one photo. He prints 995 photos. That's the only amount that he prints, and then he sells one for, let's say it starts out at $3,000 or something like that. And as one sells, the price increases. Every time one sells, the price increases. And so when you get up to 995, you have a later version, but that costs the most. So that's why there's actually one photo that I really like of him. I think I said this in another podcast where it's called Gotham, and it's a really cool photo of the New York cityscape. And that one was hanging up there, and the guy said, you could still buy it now and get it on the ground floor of the low pricing. And first of all, no, because I don't have $3,000 or $4,000 to spend on a photo. But that's kind of how they think. You can buy it now and get it on the lower pricing and still get a really cool photo. And if his work sells a lot, then it's worth more. That lower edition count is worth more. That sort of thing. It's really cool to read about this article. It talks about the PR firm that he hired to make sure they promoted that he sold a photo for 6-point-something million. So it's a really good read for the landscape photographers out there who, they go out and take photos and they really want to get them in people's homes. It's a really good read, and it'll kind of make you think about your own art if you look at it that way. So that's the two articles that I found. I really like the articles, especially the Photoshop guy, Erik Johansson. I really like that stuff. So if you guys know of any photographers out there like that, or video editors, or not video editors, photo editors. I'm getting ready to talk about video. If you guys know of any photo editors out there that kind of do the same thing and have their own kind of style, please let me know about that on the website. You can go to picturemonk.com/PMP037 and just give me a comment down there and let me know if you guys know of any other ones, because I would definitely love to see that. That's why I got my Team Photoshop shirt on right now. You can see that on the video. If you go to the PictureMonk YouTube channel, I got my Team Photoshop shirt on just to represent Photoshop. So, all right, let's get into the main topic. And I kind of debated on doing one of these topics for a while. I've been doing mainly photography stuff, which, you kind of want to do that stuff because that's kind of where my bread and butter and my heart lies. But I'm getting into more into video. I like doing video. In this day, I feel like if you're a photographer, especially if you're like a portrait or wedding, especially wedding, having that video skill, not necessarily that you're going to use it, while you're taking photos, but having that video skill helps you out a lot. When you're going to, go to a wedding shoot and you're kind of in a different mind frame. You are thinking differently, thinking clearly, thinking about different angles and shots and stuff like that. So this kind of topic is going to be about video, and it's kind of like a super beginner crash course on video because I'm not a video expert by any means. The first real video I did was when my son was in the hospital, and I made a compilation video. That's the only real video that I've done, minus these little short videos for YouTube. So I've never really put one together, like came up with the idea, the concept, the intro, the outro, the music, the compiled with it. I never really done that before. So that was a good little exercise to do that with. And so I want to talk about the things that I sort of learned, kind of, hit or miss going into to do that video. And the first one is a lot of people will kind of be taken aback if they're used to, especially beginners, if they're used to taking photos and they're used to just holding the button down, autofocus, boom, boom, and then click the photo. Most of the shots that you see are definitely manually focused when you're using video. And so that was kind of a hard thing to kind of get used to because, I'm so used to pressing the button down and it does everything for me. Doing manual focus is something that is out of the norm and, out of the norm for beginners, but it is something that you got to get used to because that's really how you get the cool shots and you show the viewer what you want them to focus on. And so, learning how to turn the lens ring just a little bit to get a little bit sharper, and then know how to pull back and knowing which way to pull if your subject's closer and farther. You just have to play with that. I was playing with it a lot when I was trying to get really crisp video, but then also pull back a little bit to make the subject focus in. And so, that was something to get used to. And, a lot of people have the pull rings and all that kind of stuff on their lens. I didn't really see, I'm guessing if you're doing like music videos and real professional videos and everything, yeah, you might want that. But, if you're just doing regular around the house videos, stuff like that, you're not going to need any special little device on your camera lens. But yeah, you gotta work on manual focus. That's just a practice thing. Before I made the video, I took my camera out in the backyard here, and basically my dog was just kind of wandering around the deck, and so I would try to focus on him and keep him in focus. So if he got farther away, I'd have to turn it this way. Got closer, I had to turn it this way, that kind of thing. So you can kind of see that it's a practice game, just like learning photography was a practice game. You had to know when to use your aperture, lower f-stop, how to bump your ISO up at it, that kind of thing. So practicing with the manual focus is definitely a key into doing better video. Let's see. I'm making some notes here, so just bear with me. I'm trying to read some of these here. My next one is record like a photographer. So just as in, you're you go to a scene and you're like, let me try this angle. Let me, get this composition with the subject off to the left or stuff like that. Do the same thing with video. It's different because you're recording a moving subject, but record it like you would a photo. That's one of the things that, I didn't want to just put the subject in the center of the frame and just go, okay, let's record. No, I wanted to try to get a little bit different composition, knowing where where the subject might possibly move, and know how I need to move the camera and tilt under or tilt over, that sort of thing. So that was a really big kind of turning point, because as I was recording it, I was like, this kind of looks stale. But as you start playing it back and as you start putting the video together, you're like, oh, I did do a good job, because I move the subject in this way, and that corresponds with all the other videos going before it or after it. It was a good thing to shoot like a photographer. So that's definitely one thing that I would recommend. And that was sort of, those two things are kind of like the mentality, I guess, of doing the video. But the next couple things are kind of like the technical parts of it. So picking the right shutter speed is very important. So, and what I mean by that is there's sort of three popular on most common DSLRs and video cameras. There are three popular frame rates that you can choose to record at. So we have 24 frames per second, 30 frames per second, and 60 frames per second. And so that's basically what it sounds like. It's going to take 24 pictures per second and compile those into be a moving photo. So what the frame rates really do is just kind of, it gives you a different style of the shoot. So a 24 frames per second is kind of your classic movie style. It's kind of it's not as, it's a little slower. It's got a little bit of motion blur in there, not noticeable, but that's typically what movies sort of produce at. 30 frames per second is like a broadcast TV show. That's kind of a 30 frames per second. It's it's standard, traditional, that sort of thing. And then 60 frames per second is obviously double the 30, but you can actually slow that down to get a little bit of slow motion, and it'll still play at 30. So and if you ever seen a 60 frame per second, if you want to see it real quick without whipping out your camera, if you have one of the newer phones, like I have an iPhone 6S, you can actually change the frames per second on your video to be 60. And as you look at it, it's really fast. It's like, if you compare the 30 and the 60, the way you move your camera or your phone, it's really, really fast. It tracks differently, and you can see the difference there. So that's what you would normally use if you're going to put in a little bit of slow-mo. If you have a slow-mo section in there, so you can record part of the movie at 30 and then record that part at 60. And then as you bump it down in half to do a slow-mo, it's still recording at 30. So what you want to do is pick the right shutter speed on your camera for the frame rate that you chose. So a rough rule that a lot of people go to is double your frame rate. Really easy to remember. So if you choose that you want to do a 24 frames per second, your shutter speed should be around 50. If you're doing 30, it should be around 60. If you're doing 60 frames per second, then it's going to be 125. So you kind of get an easy to remember rule, and that's your video is going to look good if you choose the right shutter speed like that. If you do a 30 frames per second and you put your shutter speed at 30, it's going to look kind of muddy, it's going to look kind of yucky. So you don't want to do that. So yeah, definitely choose the right frame rate and the right shutter speed combo for what you choose. And when you're recording in your DSLR or your, whatever, you can go in the menu system and change. Most of them have those three. Some of them have higher. So just choose the right frame rate for what you're going to record. All right, and the next one is kind of it's actually a gear thing. You can let me pull up my website here because I have a link to it that I can actually give you. But it's actually it's called Get the Camera Moving. So don't just take your camera. I'm going to kind of show this for the people in the video. Let's say I'm recording with my iPhone. Don't just hold the camera like this. Don't just hold the camera static right in front of you. Get the camera moving. So if you don't have any sort of device to slowly move the camera like a stabilizer or anything. Try to hold it as steady as you can, and then kind of move your body and get the camera moving. Get it mobile, and that'll add a little bit more dimension to your photo, and that's kind of what makes it interesting. So, like if you ever see like a horror film, something like that, they have the camera there, and it's kind of watching the person, and as as a scary moment happens, the camera kind of jiggles a little bit, it kind of shakes. That's because that is appropriate for what the action is. So it kind of startles the viewer, which is what you ultimately want. So one thing that I do to get my camera moving and kind of get it, get that added interest is a camera slider. And I bought my camera slider about a year ago, and I use it, especially if I'm going to do video shoots for apartment communities. That is perfect for what I need. So it's actually called the Studio FX 40-inch camera slider. It's probably one of the cheaper camera sliders out there. Extremely heavy, but it's a really good product for the price. Really good. So the camera slider right now, I think on Amazon, I'll put a link to it on the show notes, or you can just go to picturemonk.com/recommended-camera-accessories. If you can't remember all that, I'll just put I'll put a link to it on the show notes. And it's about $109 right now. And you set your camera on top of there, and get that really slow motion, slow moving motion there, side to side, and it's perfect. It's extremely durable, extremely heavy. It attaches to your tripod. It can attach to your tripod, although I would recommend using two, one tripod on each side, because it will kind of do this. It will kind of lean to the left, lean to the right, depending on which way you slide it. So I'd recommend doing two tripods, but it can work on one as long as you have a good video tripod. So that's a really good way to add interest to your video and get them moving. Another kind of tech thing, and it's going to require another gadget, is get better audio. You're going to need really good audio for this. You ever seen those really cool videos, but they got crappy audio? You're going to need more. You're going to need really good audio. If you can afford like a lapel mic from like Rode or something like that, I would get that. But one of the really inexpensive and really great sound producing mics is a shotgun mic, and the one that I have is called the SGC-598 shotgun mic. And I have a link to that as well. You can go to picturemonk.com/shotgun mic, and that'll take you to Amazon to the one that I have, and it's really good. Really good sound off of that thing. With all mics, you're going to have to do some sound editing. Nothing major. You're not going to have to take out the hum noise and all that kind of stuff with this one. But I mean, even with this mic that I'm recording the podcast on, I still have to do some audio editing. But for the most part, the sound is really great for the price. So I would really recommend that one. And again, it's picturemonk.com/shotgun mic, and that will be the mic that just attaches on your hot shoe, plugs into the side of your camera on the mic input, and you're off to the races. So it's really, really good mic. And along with that, you're going to want good lighting. And this is kind of the last tip that I have. Really good lighting is important for video. If you have light banks that you can get, if you want to spend that money, that are portable LEDs, those are really great. I know there's a lot of companies out there that make those. So really, I get the cheapest one I can get. But one thing that I did purchase that has actually helped a lot is the newer LED ring light. And I put a link to that one as well, and that's picturemonk.com/ring light. And that will take you to Amazon to the one that I got. And it basically is just a ring light that goes on the front of your lens and connects to your hot shoe. And it puts that really cool ring light in front of your lens. So the light is coming directly from the lens. And have you ever seen those interviews where people are talking to the camera and they got that really awesome round light in their eye? That's how they got that with the ring light. May not be that one because it's kind of a cheaper one, It's that's how they get that in there. And if you get that one and you're like, okay, I really like that effect, I really like the idea of having a ring light with me, you can always upgrade later. I think this one is like $30, nothing major. So if you find out that it's not the right one for you, you only got $30 gone. So that's kind of how I look at it. If I can try something that's a little bit lower cost and a little bit lower quality than you would normally find with higher end stuff, then I can decide if I want to upgrade later. So don't go out and get the most expensive thing you can buy because you think you need it. So but those are just a couple quick video tips that I've kind of learned, and I've kind of still trying to develop the video part of it. Obviously still into photography, that's not a question. But having that extra video experience is something that's I feel like in this day and age of really quick video, really quick audio, it's kind of needed. So that's about it, guys. Thank you for joining me in this episode. Head on over to PictureMonk.com and you can see a bunch of cool stuff there. Go to PictureMonk.com/apparel and you can get your cool Team Photoshop shirt. If you're not Team Photoshop, you can get Team Lightroom shirt. I don't think I'm gonna buy one of my own shirts for the Team Lightroom. I don't think I have the heart to wear it. But you can check that out there. Again, go to PictureMonk.com/PMP037 and you can check out all the stuff that I talked about in this episode. And go to PictureMonk.com/YouTube. That'll take you over to YouTube, and you can check out the video for this week. That'll be up there shortly. So thanks again for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next podcast. Have a good week.